When choosing the antler mount dome for your antlers, you need to determine a couple different things. You need to determine the width of your skull behind the eye sockets underneath the burrs, the narrowest point. So take your calipers, measure this distance. And because these domes come in assorted sizes, I'll show you the difference between them. We know that this distance is what we've got on our calipers here. The S19 dome was the larger deer. If we set that bone inside the parameter of this dome, it actually would fall inside the dome itself, inside the foam. What we've done is we've chosen S17 because once we set the antlers in there, that'll be within the realm of the foam dome itself. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the S17 for this one because it fits the best. Now we have our dams on both sides of our skull. Now we're going to mix our foam. We're actually going to pour foam onto this, and the foam's going to go around and seep underneath that skull and all the depressions, and this whole thing is going to be covered with foam. Now that we've got our foam there, we'll go ahead and mix it up. And as you mix it, you'll see it change color. Make sure that it's mixed thoroughly. It's consistent in color. Before it blows all the way, pour your foam around your skull. Now this will actually seep down in. You don't want to pour too much foam on there because it actually will rise up in the giant dome. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to fill this void so that we'll rasp this off and we'll make a good transition from the front of the dome to the back of the dome. Now we're going to let this foam set until it solidifies. Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply our leather onto our dome. By doing that, you want to position your leather on your dome so that you'll have equal amounts between your burrs and your pedicles. So the first thing you want to do is determine exactly where the center point is. Pull your leather down on front, and we'll staple a point off here. And then we'll do the same with the back. Staple it off on the bottom. Pull your leather up. Make sure it's center. Staple it off on the top. What you want to do is you want to work the back first. Once you have the top side done, then you need to do the bottom side. Staple the top off. Then I do the other side. Now this leather stretches a lot, so if there's any small wrinkles in there, those will work out. You want to make sure not to leave any large chunks of leather on the bottom of this, because when you screw this dome to the panel, you'll want it as tight onto the panel as possible. Okay, as you can see, we've got the leather pulled over. In many cases, this could be called a finished antler mount after you put it onto the panel. Now that we've routed our keyhole slot, our hanging device onto the back of the panel, we need to determine where we need to place our antler mounting dome with our antlers on it. Center your subject on your panel, making sure the main beam lies symmetrical and even between the ears that are on the panel. And visualize looking through the dome, and you're going to drill 3 holes in your panel from the back side. Once we know that is where our holes are going to go, come in from the back, countersink all 3 holes. Now to apply our antler dome to our panel, we're just going to use the sheetrock screws. Run 1 screw up. What I like to do is I like to hang it on the wall and look at it to make sure it's square on the panel. This is one method that you can use to do an antler mount, using the foam dome and a panel. And I'm also going to show you some different methods that are used, which are very nice also. One is a actual cover, an antler cover, and rather than using a foam dome and putting your antlers onto this, you would actually just take your panel, cut your antlers like we did, like that, screw them directly onto your panel, and then take your cover and actually just cut your cover like we did our leather back behind, cut your circles where your burrs and your pedicles come through, and just put this over top of your bone itself and just tack it down. That's another good method to use. Another way you can do, rather than using the leathers, you can use naga hide, different fabrics. Now I'd like to show you, as far as an elk go, this is a small spike by a fork. Basically the mounting procedure is exactly the same. You use your foam dome, cut your antlers the same, cutting out the foam. But what we have on elk is we have a very long pedicle that you have to do something with. And rather than actually using a braid around the pedicle, what I do is actually take your leather, cut it in strips approximately as wide as this, an inch wide or so, and actually just wrap that, like barber roll it, around your pedicle, down and around, and when you come down with your barber pole, you actually bring it back and staple it off back here. Then you cut your leather that covers your dome, and you staple it off to the back of your dome, just like we did before. Then you finish it off with your braid.